This is Grief Talk number 6. Hi, my name is Royal Ferris, and I've been a pastor and or a counselor for the last 25 years. And the last year has been a little bit different for me. I've dealt more in the last year with people in grief or grieving than at any other time. How do I deal with people who are grieving? How do I grieve myself? And I want to address maybe some of the myths or misconceptions today. First of all, like I said, the most important thing to realize is that everybody deals with grief a little bit different. A lot of times people say that the pain will go away faster if you ignore it. For most people, I think that is not true. I encourage people when I'm dealing with someone who's in grief to talk with family and for family members to talk. And what I hear from them is they seem to feel better when they talk about it. Some people, though, like to be left alone. And what's most important, if you're a friend of one of those people who likes to be left alone, don't just bail on them. Be there to listen, because there's going to be some times. And you might say things like, talk about the good times or whatever and open up that conversation. That's really, really important. Other people think, I need to stay strong, especially for family members. You got to remember that feeling sad is it's for real. You really got to deal with it. And really, if all of you together, especially if there's kids involved, are dealing with the sadness, as parents especially, or as a loved one who may be dealing with grief a little bit better, it's good to talk about that sadness and deal with it in a healthy way together. And then there are some studies that actually show that there are people who do keep it inside and don't really talk about it a whole lot who actually heal from that. So, like I said, everybody handles it a little bit different. How about this one? If you're not crying, you must not be grieving. Look, I know people that hold in every emotion they have. I mean, you hardly ever see them smile. And for some people, that's just the way they deal with it. And they deal with it best. And they can be dying inside. And I've had people that I've counseled that very seldom show their emotion. And sometimes their emotion will even come out awkwardly. They may be laughing when they feel like crying. So, no, you can be in grief and not be crying or not be sad. I hear people say that grief should last about a year. You got to look at intensity. Some people grieve pretty fast, and within a few months they're really feeling good, or even with a few weeks they're feeling a whole lot better. But I just want to tell you something. For most people, grief doesn't go away completely. And the whole thing about the 5 grief stages, what you got to realize is people will deal with denial. They will deal with anger. They will deal with those. But it's not a straight line process. I mean, those are emotions that you go through, and they're up and down, and there's not really any study that shows people go point to point to point through the stages of grief. And then I saw a study just the other day where they followed people who had a great thing happen to them, like winning the lottery, and people who had very bad things that they were grieving on. And what they found out is that the average person, whether they're having great exhilarant happiness or terrible grieving sadness, that the average was about 1.5 years to get back to completely where they were when they started. I've actually heard people say that they believe that the second year of grief is the hardest. Let me tell you when it's the hardest that I've seen, and I've been doing this for a while. The hardest that I've seen is when the funeral's over and friends stop bringing food, and that person has gone out of your life, and now your friends are also kind of avoiding you. Again, friends, don't bail. Be there and be there to listen. But the hardest part of grief is the beginning. You might kind of have a denial stage you're going through, but that's really the way you're handling business and taking care of business. But when it really gets hard is when things slow down and it gets quiet. And that's when you've got to start dealing with it. And again, if you go deep enough into it, complicated grief-wise, then counseling will help. But I'll tell you, I think if somebody's grieving normally and they have people around them and they have a healthy process mentally anyway, a lot of people can go through grief without ever having any kind of counseling and go through it successfully. I hope that helps. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask in the comments section. If you like this video, like it. If you think someone would benefit from this, would you share that with them? And I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube site for future topics, including grief. Matter of fact, this Friday's topic is going to be that there are people in your life who actually want you to continue grieving